Australia is transitioning to a new and committed beginning with its relationship with India. The intent to expand economic engagement and increasing high-level interaction between both countries have instilled new hope and optimism into the ties. It was this conscious realization and a sense of urgency that led the Australian government to commission the India Economic Strategy to 2035, IES 2035. Authored by the former Australian High Commissioner to India, Mr. Peter Varghese, the 500-page IES 2035 is being compared to Ross Garnaut's 1989 report on the economic opportunity in Northeast Asia, which helped boost Australia's engagement with China. The IES 2035 report is very well written and succinctly covers all relevant and important aspects of the Australia-India trade and investment relationship. IES 2035 sets out ambitious targets of growth, including calling for Australia to triple its exports to India by 2035 to $45 billion, as well as increasing almost tenfold its investments to more than $100 billion. The report identifies 10 sectors and 10 states in an evolving Indian market where Australian businesses have a competitive advantage and where they should focus their efforts. These are divided into a flagship sector, education, 3 lead sectors, agribusiness, resources, and tourism, and 6 promising sectors, energy, health, financial services, infrastructure, sports, and innovation, sciences. India's appetite for energy, its ambition to upskill 400 million people, its rapidly growing middle class, and its shift to more resources-intensive manufacturing sector and a larger services sector all present significant opportunities for Australian businesses. The Government of India has also commissioned a reciprocal report, Australia Economic Strategy, which is being chaired by Ambassador Anil Wadhwa, and the report, I'm told, is to be completed in the next few months. An ongoing commitment from the Australian government to the IES 2035, today we are delighted and honoured to have Mr. Amitabh Kant with us. Mr. Amitabh Kant is the CEO of the National Institution of Transforming India, NITI Aayog, the official policy tank of the Government of India, which is chaired by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. NITI Aayog is tasked with catalysing economic development by identifying national priorities, creating an enabling environment through partnerships, and fostering cooperative federalism. Mr. Kant is a member of the Indian Administrative Services and has been the key driver of a number of initiatives, including Making India, Startup India, and Incredible India, which is basically to aim to position India as a leading startup, manufacturing, and tourism destination. Mr. Kant also serves as the chairman of the Committee to Implement Digital Payments, a member of the steering board of Shaping the Future of Production Systems of the World Economic Forum. He will also head the National Mission of Transformative Mobility and Battery Storage, which is being set up to promote clean and sustainable mobility initiatives in India. As the Secretary of the Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion, Mr. Kant oversaw policies and strategies to drive development and growth in India and worked diligently to improve India's ease of doing business on the World Bank's rankings, to drive foreign direct investments into the country. Today we are honoured to have Mr. Kant with us at the Sydney Startup Hub, the largest startup hub in the Southern Hemisphere. Mr. Kant will enlighten us on how technology and innovation are at the heart of transforming New India, the partnership opportunities between Australian and Indian startup ecosystems, the latest trends and the ease of doing business with India, which will be followed by a Q&A. Before I ask Mr. Kant to come up, please, if I may ask you all to turn your mobile phones off so we can hear from Mr. Kant. Please help me in welcoming Mr. Kant to the stage.
Dipen, Chandru, Irfan, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I'm truly delighted to be here. First of all, I didn't know that there was such a dynamic startup hub here, and I didn't know that there were so many young people operating out of here, and there's so many fascinating things happening here. And I think it's a great occasion when we need to connect India and Australia together. India, ladies and gentlemen, is growing at about 7.5% per annum. It is an oasis of growth in the midst of a very barren economic landscape across the world. But the challenge for India is really to grow at high rates of 9 to 10% year after year for 3 decades, to be able to lift a very, very young population above the poverty line. The biggest transition that is taking place across the world is that the population in India is getting younger and younger. The average age is 29, but it will keep getting younger till 2042, whereas the population across the world will keep getting older and older. So you have 8,000 Americans retiring, 8,500 Germans retiring a day. And therefore, India needs to create wealth when it has light dependency burdens. Over the years, we had made India a very complex, a very complicated, and a difficult place to do business in. For the last 5 years, we've tried to make India extremely easy and simple. We've dismantled a number of rules, regulation, procedure, laws, acts. 1,300 laws have been done away with. And we've jumped up about 65 positions in the World Bank Ease of Doing Business. We also created a competition among states. So we ranked states. The first year we did this on ease of doing business, Gujarat came number 1. The next year we did it, Andhra came number 1. The third year we did it, a young state like Telangana beat both Andhra and Gujarat. And therefore, there was huge competition. But the good thing was that the mineral-rich states of Jharkhand and Chhattisgarh, which are very rich mineral-wise, they came 4th and 5th, and they brought in a huge transformation. And my belief is, if you start ranking, if you start naming and shaming, if you start making good governance as good politics, you'll see a radical difference in India. And that is what is happening now. One of the key things we've tried to do is to really put young entrepreneurs at the heart of India's growth story. In 2016, I got Prime Minister Mr. Modi to launch the Startup India movement. And this was a tremendous occasion because at that point of time, many of our startups used to either go to Singapore or to Silicon Valley. They used to relocate. But today we have about 20,000 startups in India. They're doing some really brilliant work. We have a fund of funds of 10,000 crores where we support venture funds to assist startups. We have a no tax policy regime for startups for 3 years out of 7 years. We have a fast tracking in the patent regime. We give them 85% exemption for startups. We fast track their patents and their trademark registration. We procure their goods through the global, what we call as the GEM platform, where all government procurements take place. So as the young startups, government procures goods even if they don't have experience, as long as they match quality. And we've created a startup hub where we provide all assistance, online classes, and we handhold them. And we made things extremely easy and simple, so there are no procedural issues for startups. We did everything possible. And in the last 3 years, we've seen 23 unicorns emerge out of India. in very short period. And we've done some tremendous work in the world of startups. And what we are seeing today is not merely that we've been able to create a young startup like Flipkart, which was bought over for $20 billion by Walmart, but the fact that you see startups across education, across health, across nutrition, across transportation. And it's not merely that you have startups like Oyo, which in 4 years' time has created more inventory of rooms than what Taj, Oberoi, or ITC could do in the last 100 years. And now Oyo is venturing into China, into Saudi Arabia, into UK. Or create Ola, which has beaten Uber in the Indian market and is now venturing into newer markets abroad in UK and many other places. It's not that we've created a startup like Baiju where Mark Zuckerberg has invested his personal money and which has today become a 5 billion startup in a very short period. But the fact that Indian startups are actually doing unique things. The Silicon Valley is very innovative. But the Silicon Valley has no challenges. It has no challenges. All the challenges are in India. And you innovate to find solution to the challenges. And therefore, if Indians startups can find solutions to the problems of India, you're not finding a solution for the 1.3 billion people of India, but for the 7.5 billion people of the world who will move from poverty to middle class in the next decade and a half. And therefore, the market for startups is not the 1.3 billion people of India, but the 7.5 billion people of the world. And therefore, what we've seen in the last 4 years is a reverse movement of startups moving from Silicon Valley and Singapore into India because of the ecosystem we have created. Mitra Biotech, which does personalized cancer care, actually relocated from Silicon Valley into Bangalore and has done some unique work around personalized cancer care. And with some unique work happening in India, look at a young girl who started with a startup called Culture Alley to teach Mandarin and Japanese, and soon realized that actually the demand was for teaching English in India, and in 1 year taught 9 million Indians how to speak English. No school or college has been able to do this. Or look at another startup, which is called Imbibe, and which is run by a girl called Aditi, and which tracks every single student. In India, we've been able to provide access of education, but the quality of education, learning outcomes need a lot of improvement. So Aditi tracks every student longitudinally and latitudinally like we track Uber cars. And she provides extra dosage of education to those who are left behind. And her efforts of machine learning, artificial intelligence, and education has led to her giving additional classes to students who lag behind in maths, physics, chemistry, and has radically improved learning outcomes in the state of Rajasthan. Or look at a startup like Satshore, which provides data information regarding weather and soil conditions to our farmers on a real-time basis. And it has led to farmers providing the right amount of water or right amount of seed or right amount of fertilizer based on his flow of information. And this has led to a huge enhancement of agricultural productivity in terms of making a massive difference on ground. Or look at a startup like Tricog, which uses its own ECG machines and pushes out your cardiographs into doctors, and third-party assessment, is able to get data and is able to analyze and put it back to the consumer, to the patients, all within a period of 3 minutes. Third-party assessments, labs, doctors' assessments, all that analysis and all that flowing in back to the patient within a period of 3 minutes. The world has never seen this. Or look at Netradyne, which uses artificial intelligence in the world of transportation to train drivers, etc., on behavior. So what the startups in India are doing, or look at Ather. Ather is a young startup which has produced the smart scooter in Bangalore and has the potential to be the Tesla of the scooter world, and is driving electrification of two-wheelers. And in India, 72% of the vehicles are two-wheelers. And therefore, what these people are doing really is disrupting in a manner which India has never seen before. And many of them are women entrepreneurs. So Meena Ganesh or Shanti Mohan or Aditi, all of them are driving change in a manner which Indian women entrepreneurship had never done. And therefore, Anna runs a program called Women Entrepreneurship Program, where she trains women online and does a mixing and matching of young entrepreneurs with corporates so that she can create some marketplace for entrepreneurship. And therefore, what we've seen is a huge disruption. And much of this is happening because India is the only country in the world with 1 billion biometrics. We are the only country in the world with 1 billion mobile. And we are the only country in the world with 1 billion bank account. Many years back, I used to work in the fisheries sector of Kerala, and my job was to enhance returns to traditional fishermen. And fishermen then used to get just 25% of the market price. My job was to take it to 85–90%. And when we gave them new technology, fiberglass crafts, we gave them fishing nets, what we call the disco nets then, and we gave them outboard motors so they could go much further into the sea. We introduced beach-level auctions. But opening their bank accounts was a nightmare. It used to take us 7 months, 8 months, know your customer. But know your customer was absolutely a difficult task. But today in India, using biometric, you can open your bank account in 55 seconds, less than a minute. So what used to take 9 to 10 months, you can now do in less than a minute using technology. This has been the technological leapfrogging of India. You can open a bank account, you can get a new mobile connection, you can get a new SIM card, all this happening within less than a minute. And therefore, what India has done is really leapfrogging in terms of mobile telephony. Everyone in India uses mobile phone, he uses data, he uses biometric, and therefore the mobile data consumption in India today is more than the mobile data consumption of USA and China put together. And we've gone digital in a big way. And every single program of the government, the goods and services tax, one tax across India, it's like one tax across Europe, is all digital. It's paperless, cashless. The new Ayushman Bharat scheme, which is one health scheme for 500 million Indians. 500 million Indians means more than the population of USA, Europe, and Mexico put together, is all digital. And if you look at the direct tax in India, 99% of the people pay direct tax online. And 96% of them get settled within a period of 3 months. And the public finance management system of Government of India, all of us are only digital. We can release money only digitally. So whether it's direct tax, whether it's goods and services tax, whether it's Ayushman Bharat, whether it's public finance management system, is all digital. It's all digital. And what has happened in India is that India has become data rich before it has become rich. And therefore, there's a huge amount of data. And this data is the new oil, as everybody says. And to my mind, this is leading to over 1,000 fintech companies in India doing a huge amount of innovative work. And all of them are doing innovative work for financial inclusion. And they are using machine learning, they're using artificial intelligence, and they are creating products to provide lending to people below poverty line and lifting them above on the basis of just data. And therefore, what India is seeing today is that data, machine learning, artificial intelligence is driving many of these innovations. And we have about 400 companies, startups working on artificial intelligence. And so unlike America, where data is owned by Google and Facebook, and unlike China, where it's owned by Alibaba and Tencent and Baidu, in India, we've created public entities. We've created Aadhaar, which owns biometrics. We've created Unified Payment Interface, which owns digital payment. We've created the GST, goods and services tax, is like public highways. We have created expressways, which are publicly owned, but we've allowed private sector to innovate. So Google Pay, Samsung Pay, all of them innovate on top of that. And therefore, the data is publicly owned. It's not owned by Google or Facebook or Baidu or Alibaba. It's publicly owned, but private sector comes and innovates, and that's the difference between India and America and India and China. Ours is a transparent process of putting data in public domain, and therefore startups have access to this data, academicians and many researchers have access to this data to innovate. And I think that's the distinguishing feature of India, that India has gone digital, India has gone data, and India has become data rich, and India has allowed a lot of its data to be used for innovation. And therefore, what we will continue to see in India is a lot of innovation and a lot of disruption in the days to come. And we in government act as facilitators, act as catalysts. But we do many things. I gave you the example of the Women Entrepreneurship Program. But one of the key things we do to drive innovation is to start a new program called the Atal Tinkering Lab, named after our earlier Prime Minister, Atal Bihari Vajpayee. And what we've inherited from the Britishers was the Anglo-Saxon system of education, that you study books, you pass one class, you study books, you get into the next class, and you keep studying and mugging up books, and you keep getting into the next class. We've disrupted that now. We've opened about 3,500 tinkering labs where we provide 3D printers, robots, Internet of Things from class 6 onwards. And class 6 onwards, we find that young students are far more innovative, they are far bigger disruptionists. And we've opened up these tinkering labs across schools all over. And we've opened these tinkering labs in some slum schools, some public schools, and some IITs-led schools. And we just had a competition of these tinkering labs. And what we found was that the students from the slum school beat the students from the public school, and they beat the students from the IIT school. Because unlike the IIT school and the public school, they were not doing algorithms, they were finding solutions to their problems. And they could find the best solutions for converting waste into energy and for finding solutions for water management. And therefore, my belief is that as we find solutions for India, and the only way to find solutions is to unleash disruption and push the startups into this. And if they find solutions, we'll be finding solutions for the world. The Silicon Valley has always innovated, but it has innovated for driverless cars. It has innovated for defense weapons. That is not what the world needs. The world needs solutions for water. The world needs solutions for agriculture productivity. The world needs solutions for waste. The world needs solutions for transportation. And all these solutions are what we are trying to strive for. And the world needs solutions for financial inclusion. And that is what the startup movement in India is doing. And we are pushing this through tinkering labs, through incubation centers. We've opened up close to about 150 incubation centers. And therefore, what India is seeing is a unique innovative spirit. We've combined innovation, entrepreneurship, and skill to do a lot of innovation for the world. So Microsoft's Bing was innovated in India. John Deere's 60 HP tractor was innovated in India. GE's low-cost ECG machine, their ECG machine used to cost $35,000. They could innovate it in India for $3,500. They do ECG, what they used to do for $35 one ECG, now they do for just $1. $1, from $35 to $1, one ECG. And that is because of innovation in India. Samsung's whole 3G, 4G, 5G was innovated in India. SAP's entire software for fashion world was innovated in India. Shell's new conversion of waste into diesel and petrol for BS6 innovated in India. And Honeywell's latest turbocharger innovated in India. So we've innovated for the rest of the world at price points which the world had never seen before, through frugal engineering, through innovation and entrepreneurship. And that is why India is the center for compact car manufacturing. And India is the center for the pharmacy of the world. If it wasn't for India, the world would never have got pharmacy medicines at the right price points. And therefore, our journey of innovation, our journey of startups, and our journey of disruption, and our journey of financial inclusion continues. And we in India will use the startups to create the best ecosystem in the world, to find solutions for the world, and continue to disrupt and find very, very innovative things, and we'll find the markets for them, and we'll continue to support and through fund of funds, and we'll continue to assist and catalyze this. And my view is that this is a great opportunity for India and Australia. Australia, I love the startups, the startup hub here, and I love the startup hubs which we have created in many parts of this. And I would like this collaboration to continue through Atal Innovation Mission, through Startup India Hub. And I'd like many startups of here to find solutions to our problems. And I'd like many Indian startups to come and work here with Australia, many of you. And we'll create this innovation connect and this innovation bridge between India and Australia so that we can find solutions for the rest of the world between India and Australia, like we do between India and Israel. And I think that is the way forward. And we'll be very delighted to work with all of you who are doing innovative work at the Startup Hub. I'm delighted to be here. I congratulate you, and I wish you all the best and a great future. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for those points.